Well, I think there are a lot of questions that you only really can answer as you start seeing the behaviors. So probably the most important upfront thing is just like ask that question and care about it at each step along the way. But I think also being too prescriptive up front and saying, we think these things are not good, often cuts off value, right? Because I don't know, people use stuff that's valuable for them. I mean, one of my core guiding principles in designing products is like, people are smart, right? They know what is valuable in their lives. Every once in a while, something bad happens in a product, and you want to make sure that you design your products well to minimize that. But if you think that something someone is doing is bad, and they think it's really valuable, most of the time, in my experience, they're right and you're wrong, and you just haven't come up with the framework yet for understanding why the thing that you're doing is valuable and helpful in their life. So that's kind of the main way that I think about it. I do think that people are going to use AI for a lot of these social tasks. Already, one of the main things that we see people using Meta AI for is kind of talking through difficult conversations that they need to have with people in their life. It's like, okay, I'm having this issue with my girlfriend or whatever, like, help me have this conversation. Or like, I need to have this hard conversation with my boss at work. Like, how do I have that conversation? That's pretty helpful. And then I think as the personalization loop kicks in and the AI just starts to get to know you better and better, I think that will just be really compelling. One thing just from working on social media for a long time is there's the stat that I always think is crazy. The average American, I think it's fewer than 3 friends, 3 people that they'd consider friends, and the average person has demand for meaningfully more. I think it's like 15 friends or something, right? I guess there's probably some point where you're like, all right, I'm just too busy, I can't deal with more people. But the average person wants more connection than they have. So there's a lot of questions that people ask of stuff like, okay, is this going to replace kind of in-person connections or real life connections? And my default is that the answer to that is probably no. I think I think that there are all these things that are better about kind of physical connections when you can have them, but the reality is that people just don't have the connection and they feel more alone a lot of the time than they would like.